One thing that I find really hard is naming things. It can be a product, a service, or a business, or even a pet or a kid. It's always difficult. You want to find that perfect name that makes sense and feels really good. Hi, my name is Jacob Magnol, and in my work as a service designer, I need to manage a lot of products and projects, and I need to make sure that everything goes smoothly. This also means that regularly, I need to name things. Today, I'll reveal the 3 universal name categories that I use to name anything. It makes the process of naming anything really smooth. Let's dive in. There are actually many types of names for brands and products and services, but I think 3 of them work extra well and can serve as a base for you when you name just about anything. The first 2 categories, the personal brand name and the descriptive name, they are quite straightforward, but I'll tell you what they are and how to use them. But then we'll get to the 3rd category that I really think can transform the way you look at creating names for your products and services. So let's go through those before we get into the maybe potentially most powerful category of them all. First of all, the personal brand name, to name something after yourself. This is very common in consulting and on social media. So for example, here on YouTube, you can see a lot of influencers using this approach. My favorite, Ali Abdaal, but you can find just about anyone uses this approach. The YouTube channel that I have is named Jacob Magnol for now. I think that we can come up with something better, but naming your business after yourself might seem a little bit lazy, but it is actually pretty clever. It can really work great if the product that you're selling is closely connected to you. Your time as a consultant or your energy and personality as an influencer. If you're building a brand around yourself, this might be the way to go. It builds this personal brand around you, and it can be very unique if your name is unique enough. It looks professional. I mean, you can find just about any law firm has this approach. For me, it's quite natural to use this approach because most of the time I would be marketing myself as an influencer or as a consultant. Well, their Magnol works pretty well. It's quite unique, and I have access to most of the social media in my name, and also a website, magnol.co, that I can use in the future to build my brand around whatever it is I do. I also have a Skillshare profile under that name, but we'll get to that later. So again, right now I'm using the name Jacob Magnol or just Magnol for all of my business related things, but I'm not averse to changing this, and I want to explore if there are alternatives that might suit me well. Then we get to the 2nd category, the descriptive names. And as you might guess, it's about telling your customers and users exactly what it is you do. This is pretty common in America, where you have companies like General Motors or Whole Foods Market, and there's not much room for you to guess what they are doing. General Motors, General Electric, all of that. This can also be a good approach on social media. For example, there's a channel that's called Living Big in a Tiny House, and you can guess what that is about. The problems with these names are that they can be a little bit of a mouthful. Also, they don't tend to not stand out so much. If you have, for example, a channel about fishing, fishing in lakes would be a descriptive name of a channel. If you compare that to lake fishing as another name, it's not really anything to give you any hints towards what will give you a better experience, what will make you go to the one channel over the other. So they're really clear about what it is you do, but if you're in a crowded niche, it can be hard to stand out. So that's something to think about. Personally, I think these type of names work much better for products and also maybe on social media sometimes. I think for companies and businesses, I would avoid the pure descriptive names for any business. I think it's a little bit hard to stand out in this because there are so many companies and you want to make an impression. But there are ways to incorporate descriptive attributes into your name. One other problem that I find with descriptive names is that they stifle innovation a little bit. It can be hard to pivot and change direction. For example, if you have a company that is called the soap selling company, and then you want to start selling food as well, it can make your customers a little bit confused as to what it is you try to do. So that's something to think about. Last thing is that they can be a little bit hard to protect these names legally, but as long as you have the social media, I think you're kind of okay. We are getting to how you can use this newfound understanding of how names can be categorized to create really cool names. But first, I want to tell you about the potentially best category of them all. If you can come up with a name from this category, I think that you can draw in a lot of potential users and clients. I think companies that succeed in this, they have some really cool names. And what I'm talking about is experience driving names. So that is names that make you feel something, that conveys a story about your brand, about your product or service. It's names that create emotion. An experience driving name is a name that tells you about the experience that you're gonna have with the thing that you're interacting with. I think a good example of this is GoPro. That name conveys, to me at least, the feeling that you can get really good professional video results while on the go. So I think it really explains how you're gonna feel while using the product without exactly telling you what it is. So it's not a descriptive name, but it makes you feel something and understand something about the product. Another one is DreamWorks Animation, which I think is just wonderful. You really get a sense of what type of movie they want to show you. If we want to go to social media, I think here on YouTube, the most famous person right now is Mr. Beast. It's a great name because it evokes this feeling of grandeur and over-the-top stunts to make you feel interested in the content. And I think it's just a great way to market yourself, is to try and find something like this. By knowing these categories, we can start to think about our own brand names. What we can do is we can take words from the categories and we can smash them together and create something that is new. For example, if we want to create that fishing channel, maybe Jake Fishing in Lakes, I don't know, that could be good. It has the strength of being a personal brand name. You can easily connect it to me. It also tells you what we're going to do with experience in that channel. So I think that's an interesting version. So now that you know about the different categories, you can try and start working out, okay, what do I know in these three categories? The personal brand name, the descriptive name, and the experience driving name. The personal brand name, the name of you, essentially. If you have any nicknames, you can put that in that category. The descriptive name, you can just make a list of things that you want to do with your brand, things that the brand is supplying to the user. And then the experience name. Think about, what do I want the users to experience? What message do I want to convey to the users? And then you can take the different categories and you can put together words, and then you can start working out and workshopping a great name for your business. Play around with this and eventually you will get to something that you really like. If you want more help with this, I've made a workshop template and I'm using that in my Skillshare course about naming brands, services and products. And if you want to join, I have a link in the description. You get 1 month free Skillshare and check it out. If you like this, maybe you also want to check out this video. Bye.